Hi guys, I apologize. I'm not here with you today. Um, sometimes these things come up. So I'm home with my son today, and I thought I would go ahead and talk through the supply notes. You're going to want to make sure that you get these written down into your personal notes, and then you can also look in the Google Slides presentation, but I'll go through some specific examples here. So, first of all, this is still from chapter 3. It's the second half of chapter 3. We already looked at demand. So, unlike demand, supply is the quantity that producers are willing and able to sell at every price. So, quantity and price are in there with supply, but this time it's from a seller's point of view or a producer's point of view. And the key thing to remember about producers is that they are concerned, number one, with profit. Can they profit from a decision? And if the answer is yes, they're willing to do it. And if the answer is no, excuse me, they are not. Sorry about that yawn. That was awful. Okay, so within the law of supply, there is a direct relationship between price and quantity, which means as price goes up, the quantity that they're willing to supply goes up. And there's two reasons why this occurs. The first is that price acts as an incentive to producers. They want to sell more at high prices. The other reason is that at some point, costs will rise. So if it costs you more to produce, it would stand to reason that you would be willing to sell more at higher prices. So here's what a supply curve looks like. Notice you've got that upwards or that y-axis. It's labeled P for price. Q-axis is labeled Q for quantity, and then your upward sloping supply curve that indicates that direct relationship. So at $5, you had 60 bushels per week. At $1, you only have 5 bushels per week. So what we're saying here is that you've got this direct relationship between price and quantity. Just like demand as well, we can talk about changes in supply. So a rightward shift, like shown here from S1 to S2, would indicate an increase in supply. A leftward shift, like what is shown in S1 to S3, would account for a decrease in supply. So the question is, what things cause those curves to change? Oh, one other thought. There's also a change in quantity supplied. So notice each one of these points, just like in demand, is called a quantity supplied. And when we move between those two points, it's because the price has changed and therefore the quantity has changed. All right, so there are also 5 supply shifters. We talked about 5 demand shifters. 5 supply shifters are resources and input prices. So in other words, do the cost of production go up? If yes, they're going to produce less. If no, they're going to produce more. Second supply shifter is taxes and subsidies. So the government can tax or subsidize things that are important to it. For example, in California, most recently, they taxed carbon emissions plants that generate electricity, and they gave subsidies to solar and wind energy, which is a more renewable form of energy. The third type of supply shifter is technology. So, if technology reimagines the way that a business is run or new things are devised using technology, that can split this or that can shift the supply curve. And then producer expectations. What are producers expecting to happen in the market? If they have a positive forecast, you'll see prices go up. If they have a negative forecast, you'll see prices go down. The last one is the number of sellers. So this one's pretty common sense. The more people there are in a city or an area that sell an item, then the more items there are available. So, for example, in Elkhart, we used to have Blockbuster, Family Video, a number of like small independent video stores, and those have all been, excuse me, I've got the yawns today. Those have all been crowded out by Netflix and other streaming services. And so the number of sellers of DVDs and VHS has gone down. The number of sellers of live streaming video has gone up. And that is all she wrote for the notes. So, again, key things to remember. You've got your supply curve, changes in supply versus change in quantity supplied. You've got the direct relationship between price and quantity and the law of supply. And you also have the supply shifters, which are your resource and input prices, taxes and subsidies, technology, producer expectations, and number of sellers. So take this information, use it to fill out the supply handout to the best of your ability. And if you get stuck on questions, feel free to email me and let me know. Have a great day, everybody.